What's up, everyone? It's Sheletta. I'm here getting a phone for one of my newly minted teenagers with Xfinity Mobile. They've got great options, affordable plans, and solid coverage that works for our whole family. With Xfinity Mobile, my daughter can stay connected with me wherever she goes. And did you know when you sign up, you can get an extra phone line free for a full year? Switch to Xfinity Mobile today for more savings, more smiles, and more ways to stay connected.
It's Not Your Fault is a podcast for parents, caregivers, and young people navigating the world and its challenges. Here's your host, Brandon Jones.
Greetings and welcome back to another installment of It Is Not Your Fault, a teen mental health podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Jones, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about forgiveness and teen well-being. Yes, forgiveness and teen well-being. It is currently Mental Health Awareness Month, and a lot of focus is on suicidality, things like bipolar disorder, anxiety, eating disorders, etc. But I want to take a little bit of a different approach and talk about something that I think all people deal with, and we don't always associate with our mental and emotional health, which is the concept of forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is typically talked about when someone has done you wrong. Do you forgive them, or maybe you've done them wrong? Do they forgive you? But we don't think about it from the angle of a young person and how often they have to make a choice of forgiveness or not to forgive, and how do they process this and how this weighs on their mental and emotional health. Now, what do we know about young people? Their relationships can be pretty strong at times and pretty weak at times, right? They can miss a lot of opportunities. They definitely have some adversity. They fail. And if you compare young people's lives to the lives of, let's say, someone my age or older, we know that the way that these young people today deal with adversity versus how we used to is very different. Therefore, we have to think about how does adversity show up in the lives of the young people that we engage with every day. And how do they deal with these difficult things, and how does forgiveness show up in their lives? So, I thought about this and I said, you know what? This is important. We definitely need to find ways to engage the young people in our lives around forgiveness. So why not utilize it as a topic for today's podcast? So we're going to title this one The Power of Forgiveness: Why It's Essential for Mental Well-Being and How Parents Can Help Teens Navigate It. Now, forgiveness. It's not always easy, especially when emotions, wounds run deep. Yet research and lived experience alike have shown us that forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools that we have for our mental and emotional well-being. For teens to navigate complex emotions, relationships, and identities, learning how to forgive others and themselves can be a transformational experience. And parents play a critical role and guiding them through this process. Yes, you do. Believe it or not, your kids are always watching. The babies are always watching. And how you forgive and how you engage with forgiveness will be learned, will be taught, will be somewhat ingrained, but not permanent in your children. And it's important for us to keep this in mind as we engage. All right. Why forgiveness matters for mental health? Forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behaviors or forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of anger, resentment, and emotional pain. According to the American Psychological Association, practicing forgiveness can lead to four things. One, it can lower levels of anxiety and depression. Two, it can reduce stress and blood pressure. Three, it can improve self-esteem. And four, it can better relationships overall and well-being. So forgiveness does play a huge role. This is important for us to keep in mind as we think about, okay, how do we show up with this? How do we show up in the world of the young people in our lives, and what can we do about it? So let's get into those four things. So for teens who are in the stages of development marked by emotional volatility, they are emotional volatile, and identity formation, learning forgiveness can mean a difference between emotional growth and learn long-term bitterness. So learning how to forgive and what are healthy ways of working through forgiveness at a young age can help long term, right? We don't want to root young people with behaviors that are non-constructive or that they hold resentments or they just develop this like pent up anger. We want to try to find healthy ways to cope with those things as best as possible so they can move on. Let's talk a little bit about what does forgiveness look like for teens, right? So forgiveness for teens may come in a variety of forms. Letting go of anger towards friends who betrayed them is probably one of the biggest things that I've seen in my career as a therapist, and probably something that you hear and see a lot as well. I often talk about my own kids here on the podcast, and I think this year has been a pretty eye-opening year for my now 9-year-old who has gone through this interesting dynamic with her friend groups. Um, part of her friend group started big. It was about 7 of them, then it got to like 4 to 3. Now she just has one good friend and she's somewhat decently friends with the others, and it's like this cycle of social dynamics that she's juggling, even at her age, and she's only in the third grade. She's in the third grade, and it's very fascinating. Now she's not a teen yet, but already, even in third grade, she's navigating these betrayals and the drama and the girl stuff, and it's fascinating to see. The psychologist in me looks at it as somewhat of an experiment, but also protecting my child as best as I can and helping her navigate those things emotionally. But this is what's going to happen. You can't protect them from their experiences, but just making sure she has the tools she needs to navigate in a way where she doesn't feel so crushed. It's been very eye-opening how that dynamic has played. Even with her very close friend, they've had some issues recently, and to see how she dealt with those was very fascinating. I think she handled it pretty well. I think she was distraught for about a few weekdays and over the weekend, but apparently they patched it up when school started back up, and they're okay now. But it was very fascinating to see. Okay, this is what happens when your friends let you down. Do you build anger, or do you try to have some understanding? Do you have some acceptance? And do you have the ability to be versatile and move on? All right, what are some other ways? Coming to terms with parents' divorce, another thing that's taken place in my family dynamic, right? So they have to figure out how do you work through forgiveness when your parents aren't on the same page, or their relationship or their union disconnects. Releasing shame after making a mistake or hurting someone is another way that a lot of teens deal with their level of forgiveness, and then reconciliating their own imperfections. And we know that social media plays a huge role in this: what they have, what they don't have, who they want to be, who they don't want to be, etc. These are some of the ways that forgiveness looks like and how they are dealing with forgiveness in teenage years. I'm sure there's other things as well, but these are some of the big ones that I often come across or hear. So this doesn't mean that teens have to condone every action or continue toxic relationships. It means that giving themselves permission to move forward without letting unresolved emotions take root to their identity. Very big statement here that I'm making. We don't want kids to start label themselves with the faults or the down moments or the things that don't work or the adversity. A lot of kids start to assume those things in their position. And this is one of the dangers of this heightened awareness of what we have in the mental health world right now, is we do have young people who are labeling themselves with conditions and diagnoses and situations when that's all they are situations, their experiences. They are conditions, but you shouldn't own those things. You're still a person who has lived with X or who has been diagnosed with X. Doesn't mean that you're a default or you are significantly no good or anything like that. But a lot of people will associate themselves, especially young people who are just developing their brains, they will associate themselves with that, and that's not a helpful thing. So what can parents do? This podcast is all about informing the youth worker, the parent, the caregiver, and the young person. But what can parents do? And here's my broken record moment. Stick with me. But parents can model forgiveness. Yes, modeling forgiveness. This is a huge one. Parents, the babies are always watching, as my mentor Sam Simmons always says. The babies are always watching. Even though these teens aren't always babies, you don't feel like they're babies. They're still watching. And if you're not practicing what you preach, you will create a divide and you will not demonstrate healthy behavior. So always model healthy forgiveness. Teens learn more from what they see than what they're told. Demonstrating forgiveness in your own life, apologizing when you're wrong, big thing you can do as a parent. Apologize to your kids. I know that doesn't feel comfortable. I know that's not how you were raised and brought up. But in this world, that is important. When we're rearing children in the time period that we're in now, having that level of compassion and emotional connection to your children is important. Speak with compassion to others and show that you don't hold grudges. These are all good, easy things that you can do, cost no money, can have a long lasting impact. Let them witness the emotional maturity in action from you. Let them witness the emotional maturity in action from you. Model healthy behaviors, model forgiveness. Encourage honest conversations, right? Teens often bottle up emotions, especially when they feel misunderstood. Invite open, judgmental, free dialogue. Ask them questions. Is there anything that you've been holding on to that's weighing you down? Have you forgiven yourself about that situation? What do you wish somebody would have said to help you move on? These are all great questions to ask that are reflective. When you do this, you're putting a mirror in the face of your child. It will help them process their emotions. Validate hurt is number 3. Validate hurt. So before teens can forgive, they need to feel validated and seen. Avoid minimizing their pains. Instead, say things like, that sounds really painful. Or, I can understand why you'd feel that way. Validation opens up the floor and the door to healing. Help understand boundaries. Forgiveness doesn't mean reentry. Helping your teen understand that they can forgive someone without maintaining a close friendship and relationship. This is especially important when trust has been broken. So helping them establish those firm boundaries. Boundaries are big. I think this is something that many people are going to have to really learn how to do better of, especially in this polarized world that we found ourselves in. We have to find better ways to affirm our boundaries, articulate our boundaries, and be comfortable individually with our boundaries. Use tools and language that resonate. Teens may respond well to journaling, art, and even music that expresses struggle of letting go. Introduce them to books, short videos, and real life stories about forgiveness from people that they admire, including yourself. Do not underestimate the power of storytelling to your child about you. It always fascinates me because I think I talk too much to my kids, but when I tell them about how I grew up, how their uncles grew up, how their grandmother or my mom responded to them, or maybe even some stories that they know from their own, that I know about their own mother, it definitely has a huge impact on how they think and feel. They see, they're like, okay, my dad was a human, like he's gone through some stuff. I get it. It's it's a really powerful thing. Don't underestimate the storytelling and the story sharing with your children. And then the last tip I have for today before we close out is support self-forgiveness. Some of the hardest forgiveness work teens face is forgiving themselves, whether it is a academic failure, a relationship mistake, or peer pressure. Encourage them to reflect on what they've learned rather than what they regret. Remind them that they are growing and not failing. Mm. You got to give reassurance to your babies. Encouragement from a parent to a child is like water to a tree or flower. If we don't give that level of encouragement to our children, they will struggle. They need you. They need us to show up better for them. Because when we don't show up better for them, we don't show up better for ourselves. And we don't show up better for ourselves, we struggle. Let's end the struggling. Let's get to helping our babies grow in a healthy way. And don't forget the power of forgiveness. So that's going to close it out for today's podcast. If you want to connect with me, 3 easy ways to do it. The first is at the Facebook page. Go ahead and search It Is Not Your Fault podcast in the Facebook search engine. You can find us, like us there. I have articles like this and other good content there for you to cipher through to help you through your parenting journey. The second place is you can find me on my personal website. That's jegna.org, 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 where you can find more about my work and the things that I do. And then if you like me, then you definitely like the other podcasters that we have on our network. I can't even get it out. It's a plethora of us. We all do great work, helping you in many different aspects and elements of life. That podcast network is ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Again, ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. Be sure to check it out. And with that, folks, I'm gonna close out this time. I want you all to be safe, be constructive, and be well. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Peace.
To check out previous episodes of It's Not Your Fault, or to learn more about Brandon Jones, log on to ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com.
You know Sheletta makes you laugh, but did you know Sheletta Brundidge can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Sheletta Brundidge founded Sheletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Sheletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Sheletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShelettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Nystrom is a manufacturer of specialty building products. We've been partners with Bremer for over 20 years. Through our relationship with Bremer, we've actually doubled in size over the last 10 years. We've been able to secure a working capital line of credit, equipment financing, real estate financing, and take advantage of their treasury management solutions. It's really been an invaluable partnership to have Bremer behind us and support us.